welcome to my Nail Media channel, where we talk about different web stuff, mostly WordPress, but sometimes go a little bit beyond that. If you like this video, of course, don't forget to subscribe. Click the little button below and the little bell beside it if you want to be notified when there's new video added. So today I want to create a little series, a two-video series, I must say, about two different plugins that came out in a month of distance. Well, there was already a free version for both of them, but the pro version came out, one in last December 2019, and the other one about a week ago in January 2020. So the first one that we're going to see in this video is the WPVivid Pro backup plugin. So I won't go into all the details of everything, but the most important features. The other one that we're going to see in the next video is the WP Reset Pro. So they're pretty similar, even if they say that the Reset is not a backup plugin, but still can do things similar. So whether you should buy one or the other or both of them, it's really up to you, or even stay, of course, with the free version. So on the WPVivid Pro website, wpvivid.com, sorry, we have a comparison chart right on the home page where we can see the difference between the free and the pro version. Of course, there are two versions, by the way, here. So we have the free, but we have two paid version, which is Basic and Freelance Ultimate are together. They are the same features. And it's just because they're based on those pricing. So Basic is this one, and Freelancer and Ultimate are the same thing. It's just the number of sites that is the difference. So as you can see, of course, free has limited features, as you might expect, of course. Limited rotation of 7 backup, no scheduling really, and of course all the basic backup feature. Is it better than another one? Not necessarily, but it's not worse either. So it's really up to you. I won't go really into the backup features. Like I said, there are so many backup plugins for WordPress, so I won't go into those details too much. But as you can see, between the basic and freelance, there's a lot more stuff. Of course, you can go on that web page to see the difference. But mostly between the basic and one of the two others, Freelancer or Ultimate, the main difference is the staging, which is an add-on. So that allows you to create a staging site, or in other words, a test site where you can test things, where you can upgrade things, for example, or test new plugins, test different things, and then update the live website based on that. And there are also the other add-on is the roles and capabilities. That's the two difference between the basic and the freelance or ultimate. So roles and capabilities and staging. So let's take a look at that. Well, let's take a look at the pricing first, by the way. As of this recording, January 20, there's still 10 days left to the special. So for those of you who are beta testers, you should have received an email with with a code that is going to be automatically populated here. If it's not the case, you can write to them and they're going to give it to you, send it to you. And it's going to remove 40%, which is a big amount, okay? So you have two types of license, of course, annual and lifetime. So the annual, let's say for Ultimate, this is the one that I bought, is unlimited websites. And you have a 40% renewal discount. Sorry, I hope the noise is not too big. There are some renovations here. So anyway, so for unlimited websites, the biggest package is $149 per year, but it renews at 40%, so about something like $82 or something like that. Then you also have the lifetime license. I think it's going to stay like that. It's not just for limited time. The rebate is for limited time, but not necessarily the lifetime license. So you can have up to 3, 100, or unlimited websites. That's the one that I bought, the Ultimate Lifetime. And of course, you have two add-ons if you remember that you don't have in Basic. And the difference is $300 if you don't have the rebate, of course. So in a certain way, we could say that it's about 2 years, but it's a little bit more than 2 years. It's almost 3 years because, of course, of the 40% rebate. So a little less than 3 years is the same price as the lifetime license. And this is a pretty good deal, to be honest. Most deals that have lifetime license and yearly license, it's going to be between 3 and 5 years. Some are a little bit more, some are a little bit less, like in this case. So 3 years and below is a really good deal. This is not something usually, a backup plugin, you will always need that. So if you don't already have one, I'm using usually Backup Buddy because I had the chance to have it as a lifetime license as well. But this is really something that you should grab if you don't already have a backup plugin, a Pro Backup plugin. So let's dive into it. So this is the Pro version. I'm going to compare that with the free version on some different things. So let me try to do that side by side like that. Don't know why, but it does always come back to full screen. Sorry. Okay. So the reason I'm showing them to you side by side is because, as you can see, the interface is a little bit different. So if you're used to the free version, you might have to look for different things here and there when you install it. By the way, Vivid Backup Pro requires the free version to be installed. So that's one of the things that I don't like about those types of plugins, where if you buy the Pro, you want to use the Pro, of course, especially if you have the unlimited license, but then you always have to install the free one first. And with experience, at least locally, like I'm here, don't remember if it did that on live site as well, but if you install WP Backup Pro without installing the free version, it was crashing the site. I had a error message, and then if I browse, if I click back on the browser, sorry, then it was okay, and I could install the free version. But at first, you may panic a little bit because it will show you that was a problem with the site. So always remember to install the free version first, so you shouldn't have that issue. All right, so if we compare, of course, backup to backup, the difference is here is backup and migration, and this one is only backup and restore. So migration is another tab instead here. So that's why there are going to be a couple of differences. So of course you have more features here for backup. It's divided in steps in this particular case, whether you want to save it locally or to a remote storage. Okay, so you have the option here of remote, but it doesn't seem to work. So they should have a pop-up or something that says that it's a Pro feature only, but it's not. You need to go, if I click on the plus or if I click on that tab, I can add things. So as you can see, this is a Pro feature, but the remote backup is not. Not sure that they're all available though, but anyway, I think so. So you need to have a remote storage first if you want to use that. I'm not gonna do that for this particular video. The second option here that we have is creating a staging. Of course, if you have the Freelancer or Ultimate, you have the staging here, but it's simply going to be a shortcut to point you to the staging, which is another element here. Okay, it's not one of those tabs. So we'll see that later on. And option number 3 is migrate. So if you want to migrate this website to another host or another server, then you can use one of the two. Auto migration is the easiest one, but they say that the sending to remote storage is more secure. So if you want to have it, but you have to send it to remote destination first and then restore it from there. So I prefer the auto migration, but it's less, not secure, but less stable, let's say it like that, because of the speed of the server and so on. So what I recommend, try auto migration, and if it fails, then go with the other one. Then step 2, you choose what you want to back up. So this is the same thing as the window here. So we can back up the database and files, all the files, just the files, or just the database. Or of course, you can have a custom backup, which is the only thing missing here in the free version. You have create a staging site, which is only for Pro, and you have custom, which is only Pro. But the first 3 are the same one in both free and a paid version. If you click on custom, then you can choose whether you want to back up the core or not, and all the folders that you want to back up. You can exclude some folders if you want to. For example, if you have more than one backup plugin, I've seen that before. So you might want to remove the backup folders of the other plugins. You can add external folders or database. So if you have created your own database and you want to back it at the same time, you can include it manually. Same thing for folders and files. Then you can add a comment to the backup, which is not the case in the free version. And of course, you just click on migrate, or in this case, I want to save it. Okay, because I had clicked on that, it was saying migrate instead. So you can click on backup now, and you can check that checkbox here, both on free and paid version, to say that this one will not be automatically deleted, because you can set it in the settings that they're going to be automatically deleted after X number of days, or after X number of backups and so on. In the free version, you have below it the backups and upload, which are going to be in the paid version in the backup and restore tab here instead. So backup, and you can also upload a backup from an external source, from your computer or something like that. And you can, of course, scan your local directory as well. I don't have any backups yet. In this particular case, pretty similar, but with different names. I don't know why. Localhost and remote storage instead of backup and upload. And of course, you can drag and drop files here if you want to as well. But as you can see, I have a little drop down here that I don't have in the free version. That's because I can have my manually created Vivid backups, in other words, and rollback. Because I can set in the setting, I'm going to show you that later on, but we can set in the settings to automatically create a backup each time that you update a plugin or a theme, or probably even WordPress itself. And that's really interesting. That's one of the features that is not announced. I don't know why. I didn't see that in the features, maybe in the big list here. But when you go in the features, they don't mention that. And that is something really interesting, really important for me. That it creates an automatic backup. This is something that Backup Buddy, for example, doesn't do. So I really like that feature that it creates a backup each time that you do an update. So at least that's the default setting. Of course, you can remove that. So this is where you want to change that from your manual backups to the automatic rollback backups. Okay. This is something, of course, that you have only in the Pro version. Now, if you go into the schedule, you have the schedule on both of them, but as you can see, you have more power in the paid version. So you have, first of all, from 1, 2, 4, 8, and 12 hours. It starts at 12 hours on the free one. The others are the same, but you can decide the day and the hour, which is not the case in the free version. And of course, you can create a custom one as well here, but they say custom is in the Pro version. You don't see custom here, but of course that simply depends on what you want to choose here, in other words. Then again, what you want to back up, only custom is available in Pro, and the other are the same settings as you have for regular backup. Okay. Incremental backup, that's the second feature that is really great into the Pro version. It's not available yet. They say it should be available no later than January 28th. So if you listen to that after that date, it should be available. But this is another great feature where instead of creating a new backup, sometimes really big, each time on each schedule, you can simply create one big backup, and then it's going to simply back up the changes since that backup, that previous backup. So it's going to make file size a lot smaller. That's the main purpose of that feature. So second great feature. First one, automatically backup before updating. Second one, incremental backup. And the third one, we already mentioned it but didn't see it, is the staging that we're going to come back later on. So those three main features are really the real main reason why you might want to go with the Pro version. So still to come. Remote storage, auto migration here is just the key, so it goes with the migration on the Pro version. Remote storage, where you can choose an external folder or an external location. The only difference, as you see here, is the directory. You cannot rename it in this case. You can in the Pro version. That's the biggest difference, the only difference, I should say. You have the logs here, of course, that you have there as well. And oh, there are two tabs here that you don't have here. That's because they are somewhere else, but they are there as well. So settings here, if I go with the free version, I'm going to go directly with settings. Key, by the way, is just for migrating when you migrate between two different servers. So if I go with settings here, let's go directly with the settings in the Pro version. You see that you have more options in the Pro again. You can go up to 7 backups retained in the free version, and you can decide how many you want. You just type a number here in the Pro one, so more backup that you can retain, depending, of course, on the space storage that you have. And they are separated. The number of backups locally on the remote storage, on the database backup, and of course, in other words, for the entire backup and for just database backup, but 2 options for each. In the free version, you just have 1 option. Then you have different checkbox here. Remove all this backup is something that you have only in Pro. So this is when you want to automatically delete older backup so that you don't take up too much space. And that's why when you create the first backup, you have the option of checking do not remove with automatic removal. Then you have the calculate the size, display tab pages in admin, which is this one here. Show plugin on admin bar, sorry, that's the option. The tab pages in admin navigation menu. Probably something else here, something like that. I didn't really check that, to be honest. The merge all backup files into a single package. So instead of having 4 or 5 different package, and that's what you have often with other backup. I think Updraft does that. So you might want to have just one that you upload. It's going to be easier. If it creates problem, then you might want to uncheck that. It's longer to do that, so that's why you might want to uncheck that. But it's better for different resources, different server. And keep storing the backup in a local host after uploading to remote storage. This is something that you have only in Pro. So if you check that, even if you select to send it to remote, it's going to keep a local copy. In other words, it creates the backup locally, and then it sends it to the remote server. And usually it deletes the local version after that. If you want to keep the local version as well, you just check that checkbox. Auto backup before updating is the Pro feature that I already mentioned. It's activated by default, and it's going to save that to that folder here. You can also send it to a remote destination if you prefer. You have the backup folder name in both versions, and you can choose the prefix that you add only in Pro version. You can send an email report after each backup or only when it fails. You can specify many, as it says in the features, you can specify many email address, but there's no add button. So I guess you just separate them with a semicolon or something like that. It's not mentioned that you can add more than one, so you need to know it. You have the same feature here. If you check that, then you see that you have the same features, of course, a little bit more in the Pro version, because it looks like that you can only add one in free, but like I said, you need to know it because it's not really clear here that you can add more than one. If you don't want to send any email, you can just uncheck that. Well, of course, if you don't provide any email here, it won't send any anyway. The web server space, both in both version. Remove out-of-date backup is a button that you don't have in the free version, so you can delete older backup manually instead of automatically, or both automatically if you check that one as well. And that's about it. You can export the settings. Advanced settings that you have in both versions as well. Okay. As you can see, the difference is not that big here. You have both the enable optimization, the different type of database access here. I won't go into details again. I don't want to make that video too long, but you can read what it's written there. The compression, so all the same features here, the same options. But you have a third tab here if you have the staging add-on, in other words, freelancer or ultimate. So the same settings here as the others, but just for the staging site. So the size of each element and so on. Then of course the debug tab here is the same thing as the debug menu here. So you can write to the support email, and as you can see, the address is not the same. So you probably have a faster support, better support with the Pro version. Um, and the rest is mostly the debug information that you can send to them. Okay. Logs, as we say, key, and we have main WP here that we don't have in the Pro version because it says that it's only available for the free version for now. But I've seen in the updates, the couple of updates that we had, now the latest version is 1.9.6, but I think it was added with zero point 0.4 or zero point 0.5, the main WP features. So there's no tab for that. You just install the main WP extension. So I don't know why they mention it here, and you can remove that, by the way. That's the only option that you can remove. But just to let you know that it is available here. But like I said, now the Pro version supports it as well. They just didn't put any tab on for that, but it does support it. So if I go with the first add-on, which is the staging sites, so you can create a staging site right from there. And it's, of course, you can change the different elements here if you wanted to. The same database, or you can install on another database, and you can decide what you want to copy as well. Okay, just going to click on create staging site. And the staging site is simply, like I said, a test site that you can use to know if updates create any problem, or simply to test different plugins, or simply if you have a live site that you don't want to mess up while you are working on new features, then you can do that on the staging site. And the advantage of that is that it is also, you can push back the modification that you did on the staging site, you can push it back to the live site after. Okay. The problem right now is that you will override everything. So if I do some modifications on both the live site and the staging site is going to override my modification on the live site. This is pretty new. Hopefully, over time, they're going to improve that feature and make sure that you don't override your changes on the live site. But right now, it overrides the entire database. So everything that you have changed will be removed as well. And you also need to do a custom one if you want to install plugins that are not on the live site. For example, you need to check that and go to custom. I'm going to show you that in a few minutes as well. But if I compare, usually I was using WP Staging, the free version of it, because the paid version is so expensive. WP Staging as a free plugin that you can easily use. One of the advantages of it is that if you make some modifications on the live site, you can push it to the staging site, but you cannot go the other way around, not with the free version anyway. So if you want to publish from the staging site to the live one, you need to have the Pro version. And as you can see, the Pro version is really expensive. The maximum that you can go is 100 live site, and it's 553, but per year. It's 1 year free updates and support. Of course, it's active sites, so probably 1 or 5 for most people are going to be way enough. You don't want to develop 10 or 20 sites at the time unless you're a big agency. So these might be enough, but again, 1 or 154 per year, it's way more expensive than what you have with WPVivid Pro. That being said, this one is not really ready yet. Like I said, if you have a website that is always the same, doesn't change, and you want to test something on a staging site, then that's perfect. But if you're still modifying, adding blog info, things like that while you develop, and it takes days or weeks, then it's not ready yet for that, because of course you're going to lose your modifications when you push on the live site. So that plugin then, WP Staging, is still going to be better. But again, it's new, completely new, only a month old, so hopefully they're going to improve that as well. So now let's see the options with the staging server. you have the address here, the staging site address, and the admin URL. So you'll need to use the same credentials as your main site, of course. I'm gonna try this one, but usually, okay, this time it works. So if you have changed the login URL, it will probably not find it. So in this particular case, I did not, so it has returned me to that place here. So let me log in. And I have asked, and they did it, to have a different color for the admin bar here, to do something like what we have in WP staging, because it can be really confusing when you are working on the staging site, how to know if you are on the site, the live site or the staging site. And of course, you don't want to always look at the URL at the top. So I suggested that they do exactly as WP staging, which is change the color of the bar here. They choose the same color, but anyway, so it's orange. So that tells you that you are on the staging site. So of course, if I do any modifications here, then I can go back to the other site and simply push my modifications. If you add any plugin or themes, then you'll have to do it a little bit differently. So if I want to copy back my staging site to the live site, I just click on that button. And by default, it will only copy the database and the uploads folder. So that means that if you have uploaded any images, media, in the uploads folder, then it's going to copy that and the database. And don't forget that it's copying, it's overwriting your current database. So if you made some modifications to the live site, you're going to lose it. Okay. Upload folder, I don't know. I guess they will just update it, but they might overwrite it as well. Not sure. If you have, like for example, in my test, I have created custom post types and so on. It has copied the data, but not the plugin that was creating it, which is CPT UI in my case. So if you want to copy plugins and things like that, if you have, in other words, installed something that is not on the live site, then you need to go with the custom content. And there you decide what you want to copy. So for example, if it's the same version of WordPress, you don't necessarily need to copy the WordPress core. You will want to copy the database most of the time. And maybe, for example, in my case, I didn't change anything here, but I did want to change the plugins. So do I need to copy all of those? Maybe not. But in my case, I had added one plugin, not in this particular case, but in the example that I'm referring to. So in this particular case, then I need to check it and simply say copy now, and it's going to copy the selected element. Once you are done with the staging site, unfortunately for now, as I mentioned, you cannot, if you make some modifications to the live site, you cannot update the staging site as you can do, for example, with WP staging. So maybe later on they will add this feature, but it's not the case right now. So sometimes you might probably want to use the staging site to do quick modification inside a day or two, not necessarily in the long run. So if you want, you can have more than one staging site. You can create another one here. But I would suggest that you remove the older ones. And that's pretty easy to do just by clicking that delete button here. So it's going to delete that site. And it's a lot faster to delete than to create. So it's going to delete all the database associated with it and so on. So that's WPVivid Backup Pro, the main features of it. If you have any comments, you can of course comment below that video and what's your experience, whether you're going to buy it or not, if it's worth it for you. I think I've covered everything. Oh, sorry, the other add-ons. I don't use it personally, but some of you might find it useful, the roles and capabilities. So this is where you can just browse for administrator, but you can edit the roles for the other type, whether they can create manual backups or not, and things like that. So you can change what this type of user can do. So for example, maybe restore backup and a schedule, let's say, staging site, save changes. And this is just for the editor. The subscriber will probably not be allowed to do anything. They don't even have access to the admin area anyway. And author, maybe create manual backup, let's say. So this is something that you have if you have the freelancer or ultimate package. All right, so thank you. Have a good day, and don't forget to watch the other video on WP Reset Pro.